Hi there. Welcome to or welcome back to Tiff Reads Books, where I read books and I talk to you about them. Today, I'm going to finally talk to you about A Dark and Drowning Tide. I'm really excited. This is the first special edition I've ever ordered. I actually got an ARC of this from NetGalley, and I put it off reading it. The publisher was one that said they didn't want you publishing your reviews until like a month before or something like that. So I put it off until then it was too late. I actually read this after the publication date. So we're talking about it now, but I am obsessed. So we're talking about it. I'm obsessed enough, I actually ordered this special edition. So I'm going to start off by saying I like this cover, and this is the back. And hopefully I don't get in trouble for showing this. It's a little suggestive. Strategically placed hair. So I didn't order it for this cover. I actually really like the paperback cover. That's my favorite cover, and that's the cover that was on the art copy. Luckily, this special edition has that printed on the hardback. Still like foiled and stuff. This is the illumicrate one. So the reason I got it is this back end paper. How absolutely stunning. So it's like watercolory. It looks like field notes. It reminds me of like D&D pages with like the little notes it has about the creature. That's in the back. The lindworm is the one in the front. So I actually like the Mara the best. And if I could just buy a print of this, I would just buy a print of this. Like, I love this. And then it's got painted edges. So very pretty, absolutely stunning. I love the blues. I do love the blues of this cover. I will link the artist down in the description because I really like to do that. And I haven't been doing that lately with covers, and I apologize because I was trying to do that. So I might go back and add the artists in. I feel like I'm already damaging this dust jacket. So I just wanted to show you that before I got into it. I don't know where this is going to go yet. This needs a spot. I might have to put her up here, like next to my mushroom lady, because that kind of feels like where it should go. So, anyway, Dark and Drowning Tide by Allison Saft. Okay, so now that I've shown you my like super exciting thing that I did, let's talk about the book. First off, I think this is a romantasy. I'm going to say that up front, which means this is like the first romantasy that I have been like, oh my God, I get it. Did it have to just be sapphic for me to be like, I get it? I don't know. But I love this. So technically, I think this is a romantasy because we have a straight 50-50 split between like a romance plot and a fantasy plot. And I think that makes it a romantasy. At least it feels 50-50 to me. So there's that. This was described to me when I saw the description on like NetGalley, from what I remember, because I requested this last November. It has been a year almost since I requested this. So from what I remember from the description, it was a dark academia, folklore setting, sapphic, academic rivals to lovers story. I am going to argue a little bit that this is not dark academia from my understanding of dark academia. So there's that, because none of this takes place in a school. None of it takes place in a school. We are following academics who are doing academic work, but we are not set in academia. Actually, they are going on a mission from a king using their academic research to discover this source of all magic that the king wants to essentially take and use for his own power. And our main character is not necessarily sure she's okay with that, but she's going to do this anyway because it is going to give her a reason to exist in this country, because our main character, Lorelai, is from a community that is not welcome and is othered in our current society. And that is kind of at the forefront of this book. So she managed to get into this school because of her mentor, Dr. Ziegler, who started mentoring her when she was, I believe, like 11 years old. She started mentoring her and was able to get her into this academy where other people of her religion and her race are not necessarily allowed into or welcomed into. She's also not of the same socioeconomic class as all of the other people in her mission. I believe there's like 5 others of them. I honestly can't remember completely how many there were because we don't really focus on the other ones so much. And they all have different roles on this mission. This is kind of how we start out the book. There's like a prologue-y thing that kind of sets up the relationship between Lorelai and Sylvia, our main character. So Sylvia is our other main character, and we kind of set up the dynamic between the two of them. Lorelai has an academic rivalry with Sylvia throughout this story. And if you have read Emily Wilde, I will say the academic rivalry between the two of them is kind of set up like that. I do mild spoilers throughout my videos, so this is going to have some mild spoilers. The idea is that Sylvia is not actually as much of a rival with Lorelai as Lorelai believes in her head that she is. She has kind of put herself into this situation for very good reasons based on her upbringing in this society, as well as in her own culture. She is very guarded and very defensive, but her inner monologue is much more her wanting to not have to be that than her outward behavior gives her. And I think in a lot of the reviews, this was a problem for people. They did not like the differences of it. But to me, it worked really well. People are very much like that. And so her inner monologue worked a lot for me. I really understood it. I think this one has a lot of mixed reviews. I've seen a lot of things where people just did not like it. They didn't like the character interactions. They thought there was a personality switch partway through, and I don't think that's actually a thing. Let me get into the plot. So I've kind of given you the setup. Essentially, all of these characters get together. They go on this boat. They're going down a river to start tracking towards this location. And they have a meeting with Dr. Ziegler, who's like the lead of this. She has just given Lorelai the position of like party leader, essentially. I can't remember the specific title that she gives her, but she puts her in charge of everything, and nobody was expecting that. And it came as kind of shock, and some people are really upset about it. Dr. Ziegler herself has now, as the academic, like the head academic on this project, is going to tell them all where they're heading. And she announces that it's in this specific location that upsets everybody in the room. Everybody does not like that this fountain or this lake that they're going for is in this specific location, and it really upsets them. Lorelai is unsure. She thinks that the data doesn't match this, so she goes to talk to Dr. Ziegler later, and she discovers that she's been murdered. That's how the book starts off. This is in the synopsis that there is a murder mystery, so this isn't even a spoil. But as soon as we said murder mystery in a locked room on a boat, I was like, sold. So I was here for it. Lorelai decides that she's going to investigate this, but she's not going to let anybody else know that she's investigating it. But she's really bad at investigating it, and so everyone kind of knows that she's doing it. And I kind of actually like this. I thought it was kind of funny. She's so bad at investigating, and everybody knows, like they kind of figure out that she's doing it because she's suddenly talking to everyone. And Sylvia has been like, let me help you. I can help you with this. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not doing anything. And everyone's just like, oh my God, we know what you're doing, because she's so bad at it. And this was one of the things in the reviews that I saw where people were like, Lorelai was such a bad investigator. I don't get it. And I was like, I actually think it was kind of funny. Like, I think it was on purpose. She was not supposed to be good at it. She was not supposed to be figuring this out. It was supposed to be for her character development, because what she does along the way is she ends up having to learn to like trust Sylvia. It's for character development between Lorelai and Sylvia. If Lorelai was just really, really good at investigating this murder and was able to figure it all out on her own, she would not have come to terms with her relationship with Sylvia, and it would not have worked in the way that it did. So I actually think that that was a positive of her not being good at it. And I love a flawed main character. One of my favorite things about Fitz in the Assassin's Apprentice is that he's actually not very good at being an assassin in the very beginning of the book, because he's learning and he's not very good at it, and he makes mistakes. At the end of the first book, he makes like a massive mistake, and he should have. Like, it's good that he made that mistake. It was painful to watch and it was brutal, but the mistake needed to happen for character development. I am here for flawed main characters who have to learn things as they go. And Lorelai actually had to fail at some stuff. She got put in some tough situations by the other characters, and I think that was really good, and it was painful to watch. I'm going to jumping ahead too much. So throughout this, basically Lorelai has to come to terms with her feelings for Sylvia. In the beginning, we hear her in her head all of the time where she's like, oh, I don't want to be around Sylvia. She's disgusting. She's this, she's that. She's so good at her job. And it's like, you can tell like the inner monologue is her like being like mad that she's like attracted to this person. And that's kind of the feeling that you're supposed to get. It's supposed to be that way. And so one of the other reviews I saw was people being like, Lorelai spends half the book talking about how much she wants to kill Sylvia, and then suddenly she's like in love with her. And I'm like, no, she doesn't say she wants to kill her. She's like, the things that I could do to her, like I could just grab her face right now. And it's like meant to imply that she could like snap her neck or she could kiss her. One of those two things. And like, because it trails off, it's like, I'm so mad at her, I could just grab her face right now. And it's like, but it's implied double entendre stuff where you're supposed to be like, there are two things that she could be doing that, because then she immediately goes, oh, I can't think like that. And it's meant for you to interpret it either way. And I actually thought that was kind of smart. I found it fun. It was like, oh, come on, Lorelai, just get a grip on your feelings because you clearly have them. And I enjoyed that. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fun. I found it interesting. And it could be because I don't read a lot of these books that these things are new to me, and that was something I thought was really well done. And so eventually Sylvia kind of has to like force Lorelai to focus on the fact that she likes her, and she's like, you dumb, stupid, big idiot. Like, I'm clearly in love with you. Why can't you see it? Everyone else can see it. Why can't you see it? And that scene kind of amused me. So then we have them kind of, I will agree. I was watching Carrie Kinread's video of it today, and she was like, really? That's the scene? That's where you're going to get together? You're going to get together there? Really? There's stuff happening. And I was like, yeah, but one, they're in their early 20s. They don't give a shit like about what's happening around them. And two, it's a fantasy novel. I'm not upset about it. Like, it was whatever. I was like, well, that's kind of bad timing, but is there ever any good timing? Like, might as well get it out of your system now. Like, why the hell not? So I did not mind that, actually. I thought it was kind of, it kept with the pacing and the way the story was written. It kept with the tone. It made sense. So I enjoyed that. I thought it was kind of fun. Like, it's just out. Like, why? Why now? I get that. But it didn't frustrate me. I thought it worked with the story itself. And I mean, I have read, not to go back to Fitz, but man, Fitz chose some inopportune times. So I will not be complaining given my like for other things. So for other books. Anyway, where was I? Okay. So then the third act breakup comes, and it comes, and then of course they get back together because this is a romantasy. There has to be that happy ever after, I'm learning. At least majority of people, I did ask, and I think I got like a 75-25 split where romantasy has to have a happy ending. The only difference is that most romantasies are multi-book series, and so the happy ever after could come in one of the later books. But if it is classed as romantasy, it has to have either a happy for now or a happy ever after. Like, it has to have that ending, and I did not know that. So it makes sense because I just recently learned that romances have to have that to be called a romance. So the third act breakup does come, but I thought the way that it was done worked well for a fantasy world. So it didn't upset me. It was frustrating, and it was kind of painful to watch, where I was like, I actually don't see a way out of this. So yeah, you could make the choice that you made and cause the breakup, or you could have stood your ground and you both would have gone down. So I can kind of see why the choice like was made. At least it was a nobody wins situation. It was like a Sophie's Choice type thing, I guess. So I appreciated that, actually. I thought that was one of the third act breakups that I've actually enjoyed. I have been trying romantasies. I just have not found any I actually enjoy. This one I did. So I thought that was fun. In the middle of that, like as we're escaping, there's this whole there's all of these like mythical creatures surrounding us. There's a great scene with the Maras, which are like nightmares. There's some really good stuff happening that was kind of fun and creative and not our normal British mythologies that we often get. It was more than just dragons and stuff because we are set in fantasy Germany. So we got some Germanic folklore, which I enjoyed. There's an undercurrent in this of not colonization, but it's like forced unification, like annexation of places and stuff. So there is like an undercurrent of political stuff happening. We also have the fact that Lorelai is from a fantasy Jewish race, and experiences similar things to what Jewish people experienced. I'm assuming it's based similar to those things. So a lot of like negative stuff is said about her because of her religion and her culture. So there is like those undercurrents happening. It's not in your face with a lot of slurs, but it is there in constant microaggressions. And you see how those affect her as we go throughout the book. And I did really I thought it was well handled, but I'm not of that minority group, so I can't say for sure, but it didn't make me feel icky like some other things have. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I want to give you some quotes real quick that I really enjoyed from this because I don't want to spoil anything more than that. And I think because we know that it's enemies to lovers, I don't think I really, like academic rivals to lovers, I do not think I spoiled anything about their relationship. But there were some quotes I really liked. And I know you're not supposed to share quotes from ARCs, so maybe I should try to find the same page, but we're going to go with it. Lorelai struggles a lot with like depression and anxiety and stuff. So it was like, as always did, her mind spun shadows into monsters who wore the faces of men. And we get this as kind of like a outward expression of anxiety and depression. And I kind of enjoyed that, like from a identifying with it thing, not like, I love it. It was like, I actually like this. I think this is a good way to do this type of thing. Lorelai considered herself capable of a great many things, but projecting an aura of total calm was not one of them. And I'm like, did I like this just because I identified with Lorelai in a lot of ways? Like, I'm pretty sure I did. So many of my notes are like, me too, girl. When Sylvia first expressed her feelings to her, she was like, some fire within her had certainly gone out, but a new one kindled at the center of her chest, warm and insistent and soft. It was horrible. It made me laugh so much. Like some of these things, I'm just like, I so strongly feel these emotions that I think this is why it worked for me, because Lorelai is kind of like it's a grumpy sunshine. She is a grumpy character, and I appreciated her inner depths of feelings. Oh my God, hugs. No, stop. Because I am that person in a lot of ways. More so when I was in my 20s than I am now. I'm in my soft girl phase, but when I was younger, a lot of these things I identify with, and those are still my knee-jerk reactions to a lot of things. And as I've been told by a couple of therapists, they do come from my PTSD, from my upbringing. So I was able to kind of identify with some of this stuff. Yeah, I was just like, some of these lines, man, some of these lines. So I loved Dark and Drowning Tide. I know that is an unpopular opinion, but what do I do here if not unpopular opinions? So this is just me having a positive opinion about a book that a lot of people don't like. So this was a 5 for me. I was very excited about it. I ate that shit up. It was kind of slow for me in the beginning. Once we got into the adventuring part, I really enjoyed it. I learned the term backpack fantasy for this one, which is kind of like Sword Heart is a backpack fantasy. Tolkien is backpack fantasy. It's where we're just traveling with the characters. We do a lot of stuff on the road. That is a backpack fantasy. And I've been tagging them on Storygraph as journeys. I love a book with a journey. I love a backpack fantasy, apparently. And this is a sapphic backpack fantasy, and I was kind of here for it. Plus, they're academics. They're doing field work. My PhD in core was just give me all the field work and all the data. I need it. I miss it. So, yes. Dark and Drowning Tide, the digital one, or if you like, the illumicrate edition, which I was very excited about. It was very shiny, and it's my prized possession currently. So that's how I felt about that. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. And like it if you feel like it. and subscribe if you want to see more.